Hello guys, and welcome back to another video by Gaming Legends. This is TJ, and today we're going to talk about using the Cronus Zen, the Xim Apex, and both the Cronus and Xim Apex together on the PS5 with PS5 Games and the PS5 Controller. So before we get started today, I'd like to talk about the Xim Apex and its hub. So we're all used to the Xim Apex hub that comes with the device. Well, that hub I don't find very reliable all the time. I don't think it puts out enough power on its own. Although I've never had a huge problem with it, I have noticed problems whereas if you do not have enough power through your USB wire or whichever port you're using, that you won't get sufficient power to your devices, your controller or your mouse. However, or keyboard, especially keyboards. However, I switched up and I've actually used this 7-port device. Although you do not need 7 ports, I like to use an external USB hub with its own power supply. And this way it works. It's easy. It's made it very easy for me to just connect all things at once and not have to plug things in sequence. So for my setup, I am using this RSH Tech USB hub, which the link will be in the description. And on the bottom port, I am using my mouse. The middle port is my USB-C. And the port above that one is micro USB for PS4 and Xbox One controllers. So let's get started. So the method I'm going to be using is the PS5 Remote Play feature or app for Windows 10, and to compare it, lag, latency, I'm going to be using the actual display that I have the PS5 hooked up to, which is a 4K display. Going to be running it at 120 frames per second, and we should see how this performs. So let's get started with the Xim. So you want to connect the Xim directly to the computer. It should light up. My first one is white. Yours will be whatever color you want. You don't have to press any buttons. Just connect your Xim. And we're going to connect directly. Oh, if you're going to be using a PS4 controller, you must change your communication method to use USB cable. However, I'm going to be using the PS5 controller. So, connect to your PS5. Should say you're connected using Remote Play. Full screen this. So right now I have no controller hooked up. We all know you can use a keyboard. Now a lot of people get confused with whether it's Microsoft or Sony that disables the mouse and keyboard usage on the games. It's not. It's actually the developers that have to enable it in games. In games like Rainbow Six Siege, they are talking about bringing cross-platform, like cross-play with PS and Xbox, and also enabling mouse and keyboard support to match with the Xim Apex users that are already on there. I'm not too sure if they were going to match it with PC. I don't think that would be a fair advantage considering PC has lean without aiming. However, the keyboard does work on the PS5 without a controller. However, it doesn't work for the games. Well, very limited. We're going to go ahead and start up Siege. Well, Siege has already started for me. So as I said earlier, connect your Xim. Your Xim is now your controller. And we're going to connect our USB hub. So plug your USB hub in, whether it's your original Xim hub or your external hub or a different hub. And now you want to, as I said earlier, plug your mouse into the slot 1. For me, it's the bottom slot for here. For Xim hub, it's the number 1. And then you're going to plug controller into 3. For me, I just plugged it into the next slot. For the external hubs, they don't. So far, this hub doesn't it doesn't matter where you plug your controller in. So now we're going to take the PS5 controller. And we're just going to connect the USB cable right into it. It should start up. You'll know it is once it turns blue or white. It doesn't always have to turn blue. Sometimes it just turns white. And this will enable the controller usage. There's not that much of a lag input. For me, it isn't. The only lag you will see is the left display being remote play. That's the only lag I'm getting. But the PS5 is picking up the input as I touch it. Otherwise, these will both be the same. So I'm using a Corsair mouse, and it works just fine. This is all mouse, and this is the PS5 version. So that's the Xim way. If it's blinking purple, now Xim and Cronus, they both aren't programmed for PlayStation 5 use yet. However, they still work with this method. So if it blinks purple, you can ignore it. If you have a keyboard, I didn't plug a keyboard into this, but if you have a keyboard, then you know to plug it into the middle slot or whatever other slot. But it should still all work the same. So moving on. So that's the Xim method with the PS5 game, PS5 controller with the Rainbow Six Siege. Now we're going to talk about the Cronus Zen method, and it's almost the same way as the Xim Apex method. And if anything, it's probably easier if you're using just the controller. You'll just have your remote play ready, and you'll plug in the rear slot of your Cronus Zen to your PC. And it should power up. It says Rainbow Six, lights on, and you'll use the left slot for the controller. So however you want to connect that, you'll use the left slot with the PS5 controller. If you use PS4 controller, it works that way also. You'll plug in the PS5 controller, and it should power on. And this should allow you to use the controller again with Zen. You should be able to adjust your options. That's how you know the Zen is working. And let's give this a test. So I have rapid fire on and crouch spam. And with the Zen, working on PS5. Now the last method is using Cronus and the Xim Apex together. Mouse and keyboard support with the Cronus macros. So this method's very easy also. All you're going to do is replace the controller with the Xim. And normally whenever you set up a Zen and a Xim together, you'll use these forward slots. However, we will not use those. We will be using the side slot. So Cronus plugged in, just like the last method. And you'll just take your Xim and you'll plug it into the side slot, your left slot. Once it's in, it should start glowing. It's ready. And you'll go ahead and plug in your controller. So the best thing about this hub actually is, like I said, I don't have to use sequence. I could plug things in and the mouse and the controller will both come on at the same time. For me, I'm not sure if you guys have experienced that, but the only way I could get it to work with the original Xim Hub is that I have to plug in the mouse first and then the controller. With these USB devices, all I have to do is plug in the Xim. and it always works. Both of them right at the same time. Whether I restart the Xbox or PlayStation or PC, it just comes right on. Both of them, and they work. So this is the Xim and the Zen, Cronus and the Xim together. PlayStation controller plugged in. This is mouse, and rapid fire should be on, and click, and now you have both of them. Once again, I have no lag on the middle screen. All I do is play on the middle screen, and this one I usually have muted and turn or just put in the background somewhere. And it doesn't matter. This doesn't have to be your front screen. You can literally minimize it and it'll honestly still work. I literally have no lag. So that is it for this video. I am going to add a little bit. I know that some of you aren't happy with the Cronus or the Xim Apex because we know them as cheat devices. But my personal opinion, and that's all it is that I don't think a Xim Apex is that much of an advantage, because one thing the developer said is they will just enable keyboard and mouse support. And the reason why games like PUBG and possibly Fortnite, they don't, I wouldn't say Fortnite, maybe Apex Legends, they don't consider Xim or Cronus a cheat, although I'll talk about Cronus in a little bit. As far as Xim, they believe since everyone can get their hands on one, they don't believe it's a cheat. They believe cheats are, seeing through walls, tracking, aimbot, all those other things. And therefore, I believe Xim is fine. I believe it's an input for me, and that's why I use it now, because I'm better aiming with the mouse. And although I don't think keyboard has better advantage over controller, but the mouse does. As far as Cronus goes, Cronus, I do believe it's a cheat device. I personally don't use it. I got it, and I've never really gotten to using it. It's actually a disadvantage for me because I have to adjust to it, and it's too much for me. It's too much for me to want to adjust to. I don't want to crouch spam. If I were to play in an actual public game with someone or wherever on someone else's console and I don't have my Cronus, I don't want that disadvantage. And I believe the rapid fire, the crouch spam, yes, you could if you could humanly possibly click those buttons that fast, yes. However, I do believe that's cheating in games. But that's my opinion, not everybody's. However, this is just a tutorial to show you how to use them with the PS5, with PS5 games, with the PS5 controller. And that is it. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time.